Nearly 12 million people have been driven from their homes during Sudan's continuing civil war between government forces and the rebel RSF. When the final army stronghold in the west of the country, El Fasher, fell to the rebels at the end of last month after a 500-day siege, there were reports of widespread brutality against civilians. Our Africa correspondent Barbara Pletasher is one of the first international journalists to speak directly to some of those who managed to escape. She's travelled to a camp near the town of Al-Dabar in northern Sudan. Journalists are not permitted to move around freely in Sudan, so Barbara and her team were in army-controlled territory and accompanied at all times. And a warning, you may find accounts of those fleeing the city upsetting.
Waking up to another morning free from fear. The desert has become a refuge. People who escaped Al Fasher traveled hundreds of miles to get here. A camp set up in army-held territory. The newest arrivals wait to be screened, including for any possible connections with the RSF. They've come mostly empty-handed, but burdened with stories of loss and violence. Abdullah's wife was killed in shelling 4 months ago. He fled Al Fasher with his 3 young daughters on the day the city fell, but nearly lost them too. He was beaten by RSF fighters in the chaos as people ran in panic, then separated from the girls at a checkpoint.
The RSF told the old men and women to stand apart from the young men, so I gave my daughters to the women. Then the RSF brought big vehicles and we were scared they were going to forcibly recruit us. So some of us ran and escaped into the neighborhood. All night I was thinking, how am I going to find my children again? I've lost so many people already. I was afraid I'd lose them too.
When Al Fasher finally fell, people fled in different directions. This is one of the few places in the country where they've built a camp especially to house them. But aid agencies believe many didn't get very far because of danger or detention or the cost of buying their way out. And those who did make it to safety are broken. Families were scattered and scarred by the long siege of the city and the violence of its capture.
There are mostly women here, and many don't want to be identified to protect those who stayed behind. This mother wasn't in Al Fasher when it fell. Her children managed to escape from the city, but the eldest daughter was terrified she'd be raped. The RSF took a girl out of the car at a checkpoint, she says, and we had to leave her behind. I was afraid they'd take a girl at every checkpoint. They were traveling with their grandmother, but she died before they reached their first stop. At first I thought my grandmother passed out from lack of food or water, she says. But I found a doctor and he said, your grandmother has given you her soul. Abdul Qadir suffered nerve damage in his leg during the siege of Al Fasher because he couldn't get medicine for his diabetes. But he was so panicked by the RSF, he didn't feel the pain as he ran.
They were shooting at the people, the elderly, the civilians, with live ammunition. They would empty their guns on them. Some of the RSF came with their cars. If they saw someone was still breathing, they drove over them. At the checkpoint, when they separated the men from the women, boom, 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 they shot them. They shot the men.
The RSF told the BBC it's investigating individual violations, but denies systematic abuse of civilians. Both sides are accused of war crimes. This particularly brutal chapter in Sudan's civil war has focused greater international attention on trying to end the conflict. But those who escaped it have no idea what comes next. Barbara Pletasher, BBC News, Al-Dabar.